Hi everyone, it's week 13 and we are starting our third and final unit of information. If you can believe it, we only have about a little more than 3 weeks to go before we wrap up this course. So a few important topics that we have not yet gotten to, that's what we're going to kind of finish with this week. So in this week's topic, we are talking about environmental health. So environmental health is sort of a broad topic that encompasses a few different things. We're going to be talking about the role that the environment and the disruption of the environment plays in different types of emergent diseases. So emergent diseases would be things like the novel coronavirus, which we are in the midst of a global pandemic currently trying to fight COVID-19. So that particular virus, the strain of the coronavirus that actually causes COVID-19, again, is what we refer to as one of these emergent diseases, right? So it was unknown previously to humans. It emerged from wildlife, and it emerged from our contact with wildlife. So in this particular unit, you're going to learn a little bit more about some of the consequences of when we do have these disruptions in the environment, when we do put ourselves in contact in places where humans previously haven't been and haven't interacted, we have the ability then to have situations like this. This novel coronavirus will not be the first time that we interact with a new and emerging disease. This will probably continue to happen in the future, and it's happened in the past as well. This isn't the first time we've seen an emergent disease. It's just that in this particular instance with the global worldwide travel, so how quickly we as humans are moving around the globe, right? We take our germs and our diseases with us. Also because this is something that our bodies haven't recognized and haven't necessarily been able to fight off as well in some people. In other people, it doesn't seem to impact them. So there are a whole host of reasons why this particular viral strain took off the way it did, and whereas others might not have come to pandemic levels. But at the same time, it's important to note that this, again, sort of is a consequence of humans interacting with their environment in different ways than they previously had. The other topic in environmental health that we're going to be discussing is we're going to be discussing toxicants. These are toxic substances that are present all around us, and how we identify toxicants and how we manage our risk as far as our exposure goes to these things. So how do we limit the amount of exposure we have to toxic substances? So that's the other part of this general discussion of environmental health. So for lecture this week, I have, as per usual, I have a section for to read in environmental health hazards. I do have a given lecture this time. I know it's been a few weeks since I've given you guys a given lecture, but here's our given lecture. I also have, of course, the notes and then the module practice quiz. For the lab this week, you're going to use a disease simulation. So this simulator is similar in some ways to the energy simulation and the carbon simulation, but I promise you in this instance, this one is a lot more straightforward. So I know, especially with the energy one, there was a lot of sort of problem solving on your own end. You had to figure out, how you can make energy last for 100 years. And I know it was a little bit frustrating for some students. This one's a little bit more cut and dry, right? Here are the parameters of the disease. Here's the disease itself. Here are the things that you need to do to figure out how those parameters can impact this population. I have a whole separate video on this, once again, the environmental health lab, so please make sure you look at that. We are going to go back to lab quizzes as well this week. The other thing that is different, just to point out to you all this week, is, as I mentioned in the email last week, I think we're kind of suffering a little bit from what I'm going to call discussion board fatigue. The quality of the posts and the responses on the discussion board as of late have kind of gone downhill. Like, we started really, really super strong as a class, and now I've noticed things are definitely tapering off. And I get it. We're 12, 13 weeks into the semester, and there's a little bit of a fatigue involved. So we're going to do something different each week. So for the next several weeks, we're going to do something different. So this first week we are going to you're going to go online and you're going to find a current article. Please make sure it's some type of reputable source, so a news source or a government source, or a nonprofit source. All of those would be fine, but just be very wary of where you're getting your information from. I can post a couple of sites here that you might want to get information on. There's one called Science Daily, which is a really good source of information. They pull articles from all over and kind of condense them into one area. So I want you to find an article about something relative to this class, right? It can be anything that we've talked about, any topic whatsoever. And what I want you to do is I want you to create a thread in the forum where you're going to post the link to your article. You're going to summarize it for us, like in a paragraph, say, here's this article. It's about whatever, agriculture, pigs, I don't know, whatever. And then you're going to write another paragraph that just simply says why you thought it was interesting. So I found this article interesting because X, Y, and Z. Okay? Post that. And then we're going to have each forum then should have a variety of different articles that you're going to read, right? Read the summaries and then respond to and be like, oh, you know what? I really enjoyed that article too because of this, that, and the other. Or, you know what? I read this article and it made me think of this, that, and the other, or whatever it happens to be. Okay. So we're going to, again, changing things up a little bit this week. We're going to shift to you find something that interests you, you post it to the board, and then have other students respond to it. So that's a little bit different this week. Okay. And then of course we also have our weekly check-in as normal. So I believe that does it for week 13. I know next week is Thanksgiving. And that technically the college is in session Monday and Tuesday of next week. So Thanksgiving break for the college doesn't start until Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. We do have a little tiny bit of content and only one assignment next week, and that will be it. But I do, again, in the spirit of the college is in session on Monday and Tuesday, in the spirit of that, there will be a little bit of information next week, but I promise you it will be very, very brief. So as always, if you have any questions about any content this week, please let me know. Thanks, everybody.